So when I was in college, we had a group of hippies that lobbied our student government for a food forest. And I heard this concept, I saw it on posters. I was like, wait, what? What is this about? And they're like, well, you're gonna be able to walk through the forest at our school. We're gonna build this forest and it's all gonna be edibles. And you're just gonna walk through and just pull stuff off trees. And I was like, it's kind of cool. So it got me really into it. My last year at FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast University, we got the funding from our student government, meaning we got some of our tuition money back, and we could build this thing. And then they actually officially built it like the year after I left, and I'd go back every few years and just see the progress of the thing. So I knew I wanted to do this from like the moment that I heard of the idea. So a couple years ago, before I had purchased land, I just started to purchase like small plants, like 1 gallon plants, 3 gallon plants. I just pot them up and just keep them in plants from the different like rental houses I was at. I had 2 different rental houses I lived in before I bought some property. And so I just start potting them up, like nothing crazy. A couple of years ago, we bought this particular piece of land, and I cleared out this area thinking like, this water flowing, baby, just flowing down in my gutter off into the actual ditch, which is that way, not on our property. You guys should see the pond I'm building this place. It's gonna be insanely awesome. Hashtag below food forest. I want to I want to be able to contribute to the food forest conversation big time. I'm super interested. There's a couple guys I follow on YouTube that help me kind of get the mindset of like, okay, you build the canopy, you build things on the bottom, you think, things that can work and intertwine with each other. We've got bees on the other side of the property that we're getting going, so they're good pollinators. It's not monoculture, which is important. I think a lot of agriculture right now is like monoculture, meaning like 50 acres of corn or like 20 acres of tomato or whatever. It helps disease go just crazy, it goes rampant. But with the diversity there, I just think it's a step in the right direction. So if you guys like to see more of the food forest stuff, I'll certainly put together more content. Let me go. All right, this is where the food forest will go. I didn't quite know what it was going to be about. This area here is first phase completed, I would say. It's 5,000 square feet. We've got the fence in here because we have crazy deer. That's the park back there. So like there's a state park. It's like 15 or 20,000 acres. Tons of deer, tons of turkey come through there. Yes, not 100% vegan, so during season those can add to the food forest yield, if you will. But what we've got going on here is that when you put together a food forest, what you want to do is you want to have a canopy output like mentality to it. So you want to think about things in permaculture terms, meaning that the forest is going to be self-sustaining at some point in time, and that it should be an area where you could theoretically leave it for a period of time and it would pretty much take care of itself. Obviously, the more you tend it, the better it's going to be. So I started by creating these mounds, and I actually started when I cleared the land out here. I forestry mulched this whole area, used the mulch and piled it up, and let it break down over 2 years, because I've been at this for like 2 years now. Had this in a pot. This is a mango tree. Built this mound recently. This is some ash that I've put down here. Ash will draw in the carbon from the atmosphere to like suck in the carbon dioxide and actually help the plants go crazy. These are some blueberry plants I just got at Lowe's on clearance. Like totally grabbed a deal on these, like $7, $6.75, tax with $7 there. So nonetheless, my thought here for this particular area, this is the center of the forest. This tree will grow like 20-30 feet, create this crazy canopy. We've got pineapple down here. As we harvest more pineapple, we'll go ahead and continue to plant them out. So eventually this will just be stuffed with pineapple. Blueberries are starting to expand over here. I'm still waiting for some of this soil to break down because I have good soil underneath it, but I took some mulch, and now we get chippings from tree companies, and I pile it up, and over like 1 or 2 years here in the state of Florida, it'll break down pretty well. So this area is something that's going to be planted relatively soon. I got a hydro tank that I clone plants in, so it's like a hydroponic tank. I'll show you that in a moment. Got some jackfruit tree right here, which is this guy will get huge, and if you've never seen a jackfruit, it's pretty crazy. It's like a football, and it's almost it's a flavor of juicy fruit. That's where they get the flavor of juicy fruit, the original flavor, and it's kind of like the size of a football, and it's kind of like very meat texture. It's kind of cool plant. I've got red grapefruit right here. So these are permaculture, meaning like when this is a tree, I'll shave up this oak tree. I've got this oak tree here for canopy and shade right now, but I'll probably end up shaving out the oak tree because it's not totally edible. You can eat the acorns. We've got a cherry tree over this way. We've got a guava. We've got another red grapefruit here. Got some space in the back that I have available to do something with. So I've put my ash and things like that and breaking down there. These are actually like spinach of some sort. They'll start crawling the fence. So the idea is to block, have the entire fence crawled up. Got some grape vine right there. It's actually doing pretty well. It's doing well enough where I'll probably go buy another 10 of them. Or I'll use the hydro tank, which I'll show you. And I'm just going to do the back side. You don't really know when you start what's going to work where and how. We do have some chickens. So we just got some baby chicks in this coop. And we bought this coop from a neighbor of ours for like 20 bucks on Marketplace. And the girls lock this thing, like unbelievably lock this thing because they're worried about like predators. And I'm like, really? Like, put them out. They'll come out. There they go. So nonetheless, those are little baby chicks. We lost our first batch of chickens to the shepherd. Shepherd was out one morning. The chickens got out one morning. And I think the 6-year-old had locked everything out the night before, and it just didn't work out that next day. So we, we're on our second batch. This is our second batch. I guess that would technically be the third batch. Chickens take a while to figure out. You need the infrastructure. You need to figure out the coops, and you've got to figure out all that stuff. These guys will come out, and they'll be like pounding out here. Oh, yes. Nope. Stay back in there, guys. Stay back in there. All right, ladies. So figuring out the chicken thing, my wife has a better understanding of what's going on with the chickens. She did this as a kid and the grandparents' house. I didn't do any of this stuff as a kid, so I'm like learning as I go. And nonetheless, have it almost ready to start laying eggs, which would be cool. So we'll have 6 there, maybe 4 there. One thing I've learned about chickens is if you want to have like 6 chickens, start with like 12. That's been my experience so far. So nonetheless, the idea of a food forest is that you're creating a canopy, and then underneath your canopy, you're figuring out what you have light-wise. Obviously, the sun's rising over there, so that's my east, and then my west sets that way. So I'm trying to figure out what's going to work where. These are merengue. You can actually just eat the leaves off of this thing, so you can just pop it, eat the leaves. It's like amazing. So the idea here is that there's all sorts of different things. We've got dragon fruit that's going to crawl up that tree and like create these dragon fruit, which is like a super cool looking plant. We've got like a citrus tree over here, so create more canopy. Got all sorts of stuff. Sugar cane back there, sweet apple, aloe. Got more aloe kind of sprinkled throughout the garden. Olive tree. Got blackberries, got raspberries. Just transplanted those guys. They're not doing too hot. This whole thing will just be walled out. It's going to take time. And I do want to tell you, it takes time. If you want to have a great garden or food forest 5 years from now, start now. I technically started this like 2 years ago, 2 or 3. Yeah, about that guy like 3 or 4 years ago, just as a little guy. But I didn't need the land. I needed to know like where we're going to be like long term, like for 10-year period or 5-year period to actually do this right. More citrus trees here. This is our annuals, things that we have to rip up from time to time and redo. We've got watermelon starting there, got all sorts of peas. We had corn, and turns out like the crows kind of nicked the corn, so we're learning. And what we'll do here is we'll put some fishing line over top to keep the crows out. We also have a squirrel issue, so 22's coming out. Tomatoes, I haven't seen those guys in a while. They're doing really well. Those could actually be permaculture down here in Florida. I'm just trying different things. So this little back side of the area is where we're changing it up every year in the year from season to season. And we've got a bunch of blueberries over this way. We've got a Japanese plum, what they call loquat. These are like a cranberry like flavor. You just eat the leaves. Red hibiscus is what they call it. Super good. super, super good. So got more dragon fruit over there, more aloe over there, but those are the staples. Kind of like we've got the canopy and now we're just going to start packing it. I do want to leave a little path for walking and a little path for the tractor. We use the chippings from a tree company, a couple tree companies, to add on top of the weeds and just allow it to start building up. So you can see I've elevated some of these areas, and then eventually it'll all just be like one kind of mounding, sloping hump. You gotta put in some drip line so we can water it from time to time. Got a miracle fruit tree right here, so that'll be more permaculture. I just built the dirty hoe shack. And the dirty hoe, just figured out the rain barrel. We have a well and everything out here, but just figured out the rain barrel. I'm gonna enclose this up, put some shelves in here, put some pavers down in here. This is gonna be like a little area where, you know, we're gonna be able to keep our garden tools, hang out, have some radios, you know, play music, do all that type of stuff, and just kind of make like working in and around the food forest enjoyable. Got the outside of it still yet to plant. We've got the other side of it over here. We've got some materials. We've got to plant that stuff over there. We're going to expand the fencing a little bit. We're going to add a second round of fencing. So we're going to expand this as we go. I've got banana trees throughout the property. We've got more jackfruit trees, more meringue trees. And so, you know, there'll be other areas, but this is our first area. And those deer are, we found out the first year when I tried doing this, like without the fencing, it wasn't working too well. The little plants I had started with just didn't work at all. So idea of a food forest, and I'll do more content on this. You guys are liking it, give me a comment, let me know what areas you guys are in, what grows where you're at, and if you know what you guys are doing. The reason that I wanted to do this is I wanted to become a little bit more independent. It'd be cool in time to be like completely off the grid, if you will, where I can grow like a lot of our own food supply, but I want to be able to grow some of our own food supply in addition to being able to grab like turkey some of the year, deer some of the year. I know that there's no pesticides or chemicals coming from these blueberries or plum or any of that stuff, and I can expand it as I go. And then with the hydro tank, I can clone these things. I'll show you guys the hydro tank. And over here in the dirty hoe shack, I'll have a bunch of different hydroponics set up. I might even do some aquaponics over there. I haven't really decided yet if I want to dive into the aquaponics project. I have a pond on the property where I've stuffed it with crappie, bluegill, there's a couple bass in there, and soon to be snook, which is like an amazing freshwater fish that really, it's a saltwater fish, but it can go both. So whole nother video for the snook, but so you know, there's different methods to eat out here on the property, and I want to do that just because I think everything's getting absolutely crazy. I think our own government is trying to influence the supply chain of things, and I just think that not a lot of political elites are on team USA. I think that they're on team global government, and they're really trying to cause a lot of chaos in the whole entire system. And I thought, well, if I can prevent myself from being part of that chaos entirely, and I can get outside that system, I can become more robust. And by becoming more robust, it gives me more options long term, and it helps me preserve my freedom. And that's what it's all about. In addition to getting out here, getting some vitamin D, getting some sunlight. During the pandemic, we had started this process when they had locked everything down. We did a video, I'll link to it in the bottom. That was like our original, like starting a food forest. And it was like where we just made our first moves. I think we made like a $200 investment, $300 investment into getting going. It was a year later where we put the time in and the expense to do the fencing and the poles. And it wasn't crazy expensive, but it took time. It took a few days, and you know, we started by bringing in, you know, taking tree cuttings and starting to burn them and using the ash and composting what was here and all of those different things that it took to get to this point where we're at. And there'll still be several years from now where it'll just be tons of abundance of harvest. But we are starting to get we are starting to get some crops. Our blueberry crop this year was awesome. First year for those. Mangoes are coming in pretty strong. The tree's just starting to stack with them. It's got bunches of flowers on it. We're noticing some of them are falling off, and so that might be a watering thing, or, you know, but could be a squirrel too. We're not really quite sure. You know, the squirrel took some of the raspberries, so we're like, all right, squirrel. Gonna have a little war here with some squirrels. But we've got a bunch of avocados. I didn't even show you guys that. We've been growing avocados, and we've got a surplus of avocados now, where every time we make guacamole or do any of that stuff, we've actually started to figure out a way to get them to successfully germinate. So we've got a bunch of avocados here in these pots. Probably pot these up into a 3-gallon. And I think I have like 8 or 9 avocados. I might plant a few more out on the property just to have a ton of avocados, because it's something that 5 years from now I could just go to the farmer's market, and like with a truck of avocados, and like make this a profitable endeavor. It doesn't have to be tons of profit, but it can offset its costs, offset its time, be able to give out to friends and family. I think it's fun. We were able to give some blueberries out and stuff this year, and it's fun. It's cool. Same thing with the eggs. I'm looking forward to having like a dozen eggs every couple days and being able to give them out to neighbors and all that. I think it'd be fun, and it helps build community for whatever period of time that we're going through. Some green onion, bunches of stuff over there. I don't even know what all that stuff is called, but I'll go ahead and show you guys the hydro tank, and comment below. Let me know what you guys are doing, or what you want to see rather, or what you're doing, what area you're from, what type of permaculture you can do, what you can do to be more robust. We have a bunch of dry storage food that we kind of cycle in and out, but I've been kind of adding to like our several months supply of food, just like in the event that things got too crazy or prices start to get ridiculous. At least it's something. It's a step in the right direction. Let's put it that way. It's a step in the right direction. Go ahead and show you the hydro tank, because I think you guys might be somewhat interested in how that might work. Just added this rain blower. I gotta finish that out, because gotta figure out my overflow valve. It turns out my overflow valve wasn't that good. This is a hydro tank. Kind of got it out of the sun. It's gonna go in the dirty hose shack. What this is just a 5-gallon food grade bucket. I've got a few of these guys. Drilled holes in the top, put these net pots. You can get them on Amazon. I'll try to find a link for these things. So just a hole saw, drill that out, and then I've got a Harbor Freight pump in there with a 360 head, and that is hooked up to a timer. And this timer goes on for 30 minutes, off for 30 minutes. I'm playing with that number because I think that maybe it could be longer or shorter. But the idea there is that we take cuttings, and like these are the spinach guys are on the back side of the fence there. We take these cuttings and they start to grow these really amazing white roots. And this guy's I'm gonna let him go like another few days. He'll probably triple up this root size, and then I'll put him probably in a pot and then into the ground, and then I'll put him out onto out more into the food forest. So I can multiply plants here is what I'm basically saying, is that by having the water running for 30 minutes and then off for 30 minutes, it just creates this hydroponic effect where it's in the air, but it's free from disease, but it doesn't ever dry up. This is a blueberry cutting right here. And these guys, I haven't been successful yet in getting the blueberries to work yet, but almost no roots yet. Tried an avocado. The avocado guy is not loving life right now, but he broke off, so we were like, well, let's try to see if we can make it grow in the hydro tank. Maybe not. Doesn't look like this one's gonna work. You can see the water flipping right there. This would be the hibiscus, and we've got some little roots right there. If you guys can see these little white roots, and just in about 2 or 3 days, they'll probably be about 1 inch, and then I'd say in a week they'll probably be like 2 or 3 inches. So they'll grow pretty crazy, but I'll be able to plant more of those hibiscus. You guys notice. So I started with like 2 of those bushes, and should be able to have 2 or 3 more. I'll probably take like 4 or 5 more cuttings. And so the idea is with that hydro tank, I could build that entire hydro tank for like $50. And I could probably take I think I bought those things for like $10 each or $7 each or something like that. I'll be able to multiply them. So like a year from now, I'll probably have 10. And then like 2 years from now, I'll probably have like 30 or 40. And then like 3 years from now, they'll all be that size or bigger. So I'll have like 40 of those things. I started with like $20, and they'll all be huge, much bigger than they are now. And then I'll also be able to pot them up. More farmers market activity, more Facebook marketplace activity, more like I can just sell them off, give them to friends and family, give them to neighbors, help other people eat better, help other people have food, and just get a little bit more off the grid, if you will, because I don't want to be on the grid. Like, I don't want to be tied into the system too much with what's going on. If you guys watch my content, you know it's very finance related, it's very econ related, it's business related, it's tractor related. But all that ties together in like sovereignty, like individual sovereignty, and freedom. Like, to me, it's like, it's all about freedom, and I just feel like that's under attack in America, and I feel like it's under attack all over the planet, and it's absolutely disgusting to me. And so one thing that we can do to move forward is get off of public food chains, get a little bit more diversified, get a little bit more independent, get a little bit more out of the system, get out of the banking system, you know, have our diversifications in cryptocurrencies, silvers, golds, have your own weapons, like those type of things that I just feel like for this fourth turning, for this period in history, we've got to have as a people. And so that's why I'm making these videos for you guys. I want to help as many people as I can. So liking, subscribing, commenting below, that's like literally the best thing you can do to help this channel blow up. If you guys can blow this video up by food forest, I'd like to actually have like a whole playlist on food forest, because you go down the rabbit hole, compost tea, and I've got a big setup over there. I'm messing with all this stuff. So maybe it'll be a thing that I'll hit every now and then. It kind of ties in with the landscaper and, you know, industry that I come from. My mix is like landscaping and finance, and so I want to push more landscapers into this direction. Like, hey guys, like stop putting in like look good plants, like put in edible plants, like incorporate those, like blueberry bushes. They look cool, they're aesthetic, they grow most places. Incorporate those into your landscapes. Get rid of the poisons and the pesticides, and like just start in the right direction. Plant a tree, an apple tree or a pear tree, whatever grows where you're at. Let me know. And if you guys want to see more of this stuff, I'll definitely make it for you.